Hey, good morning, everyone. How you doing today? So what do I got now? I've got a '01 Buick Century with a 3.1 liter. Customers complained there's a check engine light. No running concern or anything like that. Just check engine light. Okay. So I already looked at it briefly. Let me just show you what I got going on. The code is an EVAP code, but let me just show you what it is. So here we are. I'm going to go into codes menu. Display codes. All powertrain codes. All right, P0446, EVAP vent control problem. Okay, so now, if you just went to a parts store and you saw that EVAP vent control problem, okay, possible causes. Well, EVAP vent solenoid, most likely. Okay, so they're going to sell you an EVAP vent solenoid. You're going to go through the hassle of putting that on this vehicle. It's underneath in the back. What if that's not the problem? Well, how do you know? Okay, well, let's look at data for a second here. Because how does the system actually know that it's venting? How does it know that anything's actually occurring? Well, what happens is you have vacuum that gets into the motor from the purge solenoid. Purge solenoid is on the motor, and the purge solenoid will open up and it'll allow vacuum from the engine to get back to the tank. Well, how does it know that? It has a pressure sensor on the gas tank. The pressure sensor will read a vacuum. Okay. What happens is it'll read a vacuum. It'll show a certain number, whatever the parameter is, whatever the computer has programmed into it. And through that, it knows, okay, we reached a certain amount of vacuum or pressure. We've reached it, so now we can shut off the purge solenoid. So now the system should be sealed because the vent solenoid should be closed. Okay. So let's just say it's 8 inches of vacuum. Let's just use that number. It's going to see some degradation over time because it's never going to be a perfect seal on those things. So it'll see a certain amount of 8, 7.9, 7.8, 7.5. So it'll see it over a period of time. It'll eventually get down to whatever the number is. And that's totally acceptable. And it sees that as, as being fine. So when it says vent control problem, what does that mean? That means, okay, well, it's seeing that even though, like, let's say it's at 8 inches of vacuum, and now for some reason it's going to command the vent to open. I'm sorry, actually, let me reverse that real quick. If it sees pressure, because like say the thing was sitting out in the sun or whatever, so now it sees a pressure of, I don't know, 2 psi, and now it says, okay, well, we don't want that kind of pressure in the tank. Let's open a vent. Well, hey, it never changes. Or let's say it has vacuum, and it wants to open up the vent, and it never sees a change. Well, thinks, well, hey, we must have a problem with the vent solenoid, right? Hence the code. Well, how do you know that's actually the problem? Maybe the vent solenoid's working fine, and it's not the issue at all. Let me show you some data real quick, just so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so let's get out of this. Let's go to data. And let's go to air, EGR, and EVAP. Air is the air pump system. Dun, dun, dun. So now, if you look real close, fuel tank pressure, inches of vacuum, 1637, negative. Inches of vacuum, that's kind of high. 4.8 is the voltage. This is a 5-volt system. Let's shut this thing off. I have it running right now. Shut it off. Let's turn the key to run. 1637 hasn't changed. What are the odds that this thing is holding 16 inches of vacuum? I guarantee you that's not not the issue. Okay, so now with the cap off, this thing should not have any vacuum. None. Zero. 1637. I'd be almost willing to bet, we probably have a bad pressure sensor. Or we have a broken wire. I have seen that before. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get this thing on a lift, get it up in the air, see what's going on. I'd be willing to bet the pressure sensor is no good, but it could be a broken wire. There's a connector that goes through the floorboard, if I'm not mistaken, on these, that runs over to the tank. because the harness is inside and it goes through like a bulkhead connector through the floor, like kind of under the seat, and then it should go to a short harness that goes over to the tank and the sensor and the pump and everything else. And I've seen a wire break on there. So let's get this up in the air. Let's see what's going on and see if we can't figure out exactly what the problem is. It's not the vent solenoid. Could there be a problem with the vent solenoid? Yes. But just putting one on is not going to fix the problem. Let's find what the actual problem is first, and then see if the vent control solenoid is actually working. All right, let's do that. All right, guys, so I got the Buick up in the air now, and the harness looks fine from underneath. Let me just show you. Now, here we are. This is at the right rear. And if we go up here, let me turn the light on, might help a little bit. This harness here, I've seen wires break before. It's more prevalent on whatever the Grand Am body style is, but I have seen it on this too. And everything looks fine here. So, and as far as I can tell, the harness itself just runs over to the top of the tank, and I can't really see anything or feel anything at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this down, because lucky enough on this one, there's actually access through the trunk. So let me let it down. I'm going to take the trunk stuff out so I can get access to it, and let's see what we got going on there. I started detrimming the trunk, and I realized I got to pull the back seat out in order to get the trunk liner out. So here it goes, and it tucks behind the seat there, and it will not come out. Okay, that's a loud siren. But yeah, it won't come out. So now I pulled the bottom out already. It just, the front of it, you just grab your hand underneath it and it pops. And then it's got what appears to be two 10s over there, one there and one there. And those should come out in this whole seat. It should be able to lift up and out, so this way I can get the trunk liner out. With that out of the way and forward, I got to get this sound deadener out, and it's held in, I believe it's just push pin there, push pin there, push pin over there. And then I believe this thing will fold forward. I don't recall. It's been such a long time since I've done one. I just got to pop those push pins out, and let's see what happens. And now I remember. So in GM's infinite wisdom, the sound deadener panel runs up and under the package tray. To get the package tray out, you got to take the C-pillar trim out. I mean, how stupid is that? So I was able to lift this up enough and untuck everything and pull it through. I mean, it would have been nice to be able to go through the trunk to get to that, because it's all the way up there. So now I got to basically lay myself inside that trunk to do this. And the other thing too is spare tire was never out of this. And as you can see, that's the stud that holds the spare tire stuff down. I couldn't get the wing nut off. So trying to get this stupid wing nut off, you can see it was all rotted in place. I wound up putting a big pair of channel locks on the top of this, and it snapped the stud because everything was rotted in place. So I got to be careful so I don't impale myself on that stupid thing. But anyway, so now I get to take that off. I may actually, I don't know, that shield there, I may actually slice it at the very bottom where it gets pinched in by the seat. This way I can go from the interior to get to that. That might just make my life that much easier. Let me weigh my options on this. So I didn't even realize that there was actually a seam for that sound deadener that's underneath the carpets. I just pulled it out. I was able to tuck it up this way. Now I can get to that. I mean, I may have been able to tuck up the inner liner, but then I was going to have to deal with it falling and everything else. So it's just as easy to pull the damn thing out. So let me get that cover off and see what's going on. Okay, got the cover off, and if you look down here, this right here, that's the fuel tank pressure sensor. So now what I need to do is I need to unhook the wiring harness right there. And if I have a sensor, I gotta see, I might actually have a sensor laying around. I'm just gonna plug it in and see what happens. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unplug this one, see what the readings are on the scanner. I gotta look at the diagnostics, because I think I gotta short two of the wires out to see what the reading is on the scanner. And that'll tell me if the wiring is okay or if there's a problem. If there's a problem, then I'm gonna have to ohm it out from this point to that plug underneath the vehicle. So let me get this unplugged and see what the scanner shows and go from there. So now I got the sensor disconnected there. I actually took it out. When you're pulling these things out, be careful, because that little nipple that goes into the tank can snap off quite easy. So now if you look at the scanner, we got 0.08 inches of vacuum, and we have 2/100ths of a volt. So obviously it changed something when I disconnected it. So now I do have a test sensor here, so let's plug this in. See what the reading is. 1.53 volts and 0.08. Let's try disconnecting it again. Let's just move the harness. Oh! I'm moving the harness. Okay, we have a broken harness somewhere. At least I think we do. Hold on. Let me disconnect it. Okay, it's disconnected. Alright, let's see what we got here. Let's plug the original one back in now and see what happens. Now it's reading 0 inches of vacuum. I got a funny feeling we have a bad wire somewhere. Yeah, we have to. Yeah, we have to. This can't be reading like that. Because I'm tugging on the harness. And it's changing. See, right now I'm not moving the harness. Still bouncing between 0.08, negative 0.08. But now it's, yeah, there's definitely something wrong in this harness. So I'm going to unplug this harness and pull it out and see what I can't figure out. One other thing I want to show you is, okay, it's just sitting there still and it's reading 0.08. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull on the harness like this. I got tension on it. It had just changed an awful lot. Now, of course, it's not changing. So we have got, yeah, I definitely got something going on, but why it's not changing now, I don't know. Maybe a wire broke in the harness completely. So let's go up underneath and unplug this thing. I might have to drop the tank. Let's find out. I got the harness out, and actually everything looks okay. I was expecting to find a break or something, and everything actually looks fine. So what could my issue be? Obviously I got something going on. And you know, even just tugging on the wires, I saw drastic changes, and of course when I went to go film it, it wouldn't do that. So one thing you want to do in a situation like that is you want to pull on the wire where it goes into the connector. You know, pull on it, make sure like it doesn't pop out of where it's supposed to be, because that's something that could be a possibility, like either a bad connection at the terminal pin itself, or who knows. But now if I'm looking inside here, let me turn the light on. I'm looking inside here. Let's see. Those terminals don't look terrible. See those? They don't look terrible. So I'm probably going to take the connector apart. And what I have done is I've gone through this whole harness and I've tried manipulating it and stuff like that to see if I could find something. This one wire felt a little funky at about this point here. It almost feels like it's got a kink in it. So I was thinking maybe it's broken internally, but I tried pulling on a wire and stuff like that, because usually if you got something like that where it's broken internally, you can pull on a wire and you'll just stretch it, because the insulation will just stretch out. But one thing I would like to point out, if you notice, see these top terminals here, these female terminals, see how tight the connection is? But look at the bottoms. These bottoms are for the tank pressure sensor. So I'm almost wondering if I just have terminal connection issues. This one here looks to be the worst. Look close. I mean, it looks like it's spread out slightly. So I might take this whole thing apart and actually retension these pins and see what happens. All right, let's go from there and see what I can figure out. All right, so I ohmed out each and every wire, and I manipulated the wire and the connector and everything else, and everything seems fine. And I got 2/10 of ohm of a resistance. Now if you look, I didn't go into the actual terminal itself. I went to the side of the terminal, because you don't want to go into the terminal itself because you'll spread it out. Same thing on that one. I went to the outside of it. So let me pull this apart and then retension these pins. All right, on both ends I pulled each pin out like this, and I cleaned them out with the what the heck's it called, this stuff here, the QD electrical cleaner. I sprayed it out with that, and I retensioned the spring that's inside there that creates the actual tension, and basically I'm putting it back together. So I don't find anything wrong. Like I said, I ohmed out each wire and everything seems fine. So I'm just thinking it might have been just a bad connection at the sensor. I have a new sensor coming anyway, because at this point I may as well put a new sensor in it. So let me get this back together, let me get the harness routed, and let's get the new sensor in and let's see what the readings are. New sensor's in place, everything's hooked up. And as you can see, because now it's sealed, we are getting some changes, because with the fuel vapors and stuff like that, it's going to make some changes to that as it's just sitting. So let me actually go and start this up and let me actuate it, see what the numbers are, because I think I can actuate the purge solenoid and seal the system, and I should be able to see vacuum changes. So let's go in front and do that. So now on the scanner, let me shut this off. I'm going to go to functional tests and let's see what's there. Output controls maybe? Let's see what it gives me. Okay, we're going to control the purge solenoid. EVAP purge seal. That's what I want to do. Purge controls the purge solenoid and closes the vent solenoid. 0%. Keeps the vent closed. Okay. So let's see what we have here. So it's showing, it's showing fuel tank pressure. So let's do this. Let's keep focusing out. I don't know why it's doing that. Let's try. Let's increase, and then we should see. Yeah, see the vacuum numbers right there? They're increasing. And then let me go and hit seal. Whoops. Vacuum too high in purge system. That's probably my fault. I shouldn't have gone too high. Let's try that again. Let's go to seal. Now it's supposed to be sealed, not venting. 428. You'll see some degradation. You'll see it go down. Did it not focus again? Yeah, see, it's holding. It'll creep down, but that's to be expected because you never have a perfect seal. So that's good. So now, let me do this. Let me back out. So now the seal should be gone. I think you got to cycle the key though. So let's do this. Oops, didn't start. Did it? No. There it goes. It may have actually flooded out on fuel vapors. So let's go back to data. And let's go here. So then it should be back to a lower number, yeah, 0.38. I'm okay with that. So I think that's all it was. I think it's straightened out. I think it's fixed. So now really all I gotta do is clear the codes out of this thing. It tells you engine off, but on a lot of GMs you don't have to. I notice I got a traction control light on now, but that's probably just because the wheels are off the ground and they were probably spinning for a period of time. Oh no, actually it's in park, so that really shouldn't even make a difference. So traction control, why is that off? Huh. I have no idea. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm going to start driving it and see what happens. All right, so let's put the back seat and that back together and let's take this thing for a road test. All right, so I just drove it for about 20 miles and everything seems good. I was hoping to get the code to actually run, but I don't think it did yet. But anyway, I know the system seals and the readings look fine. Let me just show you. If you look down here, oops, let me back up a little bit. The fuel tank pressure is 0.18, 0.20, something in that range. The voltage is normal. It's right where it's supposed to be. So, but what I can do is I can also do this. Let me come out of here for a second. Of course, the sun is like right in the way. Let me see. Find a good spot here. All right, let's do this. Let's go to codes menu. Let's go to DTC status. Now, what I can do is I could choose. I'm already on P, so I'll leave the P alone. Oh, wait, sorry. We're going to go to P, 0, 4, 4, 6. All right, see, it didn't run. Nothing with that ran yet. But I'm really not expecting it to be a problem. So this is since I started it up. And like I said, I just took it for like a 20-mile road test. Let me just do something here. Let me shut this thing down. Sorry about that. Restart it. I'm going to back out of this. Let's go to display codes, all powertrain codes. No codes present. That's a good thing. Failed this ignition, no codes. Test failed since code cleared, no code, so that's good. Now let's just go back to data real quick. Dun, dun, dun. And it's still venting. So I'm thinking this is fine because remember what the readings were before? They were all askew. So I think we're good now. I think it was just I think it was a bent over pin or whatever, just it didn't have enough tension on it. And then after I cleaned it and retensioned the pins, I think everything's fine. But the reason I took the harness out is I wanted to be certain. Just the way it was acting was just, I really thought I had a broken wire, but obviously I didn't. So that's going to be it for this one. So if you got something out of that video, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe too, please, if you could. Anyway, just real quick, my whole main thing behind the video was, if you went off of just what the code was, and you put a vent solenoid in it, you wouldn't have fixed anything. That's it. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.